Crespo is going to be host for Let's Talk Football, the round table. And Let's Talk Football ladies.
Hello, everybody, and Let's Talk Football. It's Delilah Crespo here again with another episode of Diversity with Delilah. And in honor of Native American Heritage Month in the U.S., which is the month of November, I'm going to be covering Mr. Mike Weatherford, known as the first Native American NFL official. On this show, I try to cover a lot of different parts of the NFL, not just players and coaches, but also referees and officials. And so today, again, in honor of the first 2 days of Native American Heritage Month in the U.S., I will be covering Mr. Mike Weatherford. Okay, he is the first Native American to officiate in the NFL. He is a member of the Chickasaw Nation. The Chickasaw Nation is a federally recognized Native American tribe with headquarters in Ada, Oklahoma. They are an indigenous people of southeastern woodlands, originally from northern Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, southwestern Kentucky, and western Tennessee. And if you study history, you know why they ended up in Oklahoma. If you don't, look up something called the Trail of Tears. However, that is their home now, and so that is where they're headquartered, and they are recognized by the United States. So again, he is a member of the Chickasaw Nation. He grew up in Edmond, Oklahoma. He played a variety of sports at a young age: baseball, basketball, football, all sorts of stuff. He graduated from Edmond High, which is now known as Edmond Memorial High School. He worked summer jobs at Central State University, which is now known as the University of Central Oklahoma. He started calling T-ball games, when he was in college, during his college years at Oklahoma State University. It helped lead him to become an NFL official. When he saw a familiar face, he ran into a former umpire that used to umpire his games when he was playing high school baseball. And his name is Terry Porter. Terry Porter saw him and became a mentor to Mike and helped him kind of get into the groove of officiating. And so because of that, within a few years, Mike actually started calling football games throughout the state, not just T-ball, right? But actually throughout the state. He climbed the ranks to officiate small college games, then major college games, because to become an official at the college level, or how we look at these big conferences and the NFL, you do have to take steps. You know that I've covered referees before and officials before. And it's not just something that happens overnight. They tend to start, with like T-ball and in small college conferences, things like that. So that's kind of how Mike started. So again, he started climbing the ranks. He officiated at small college games, then major college games. In 1995, when a Big 12 conference was put together, he actually switched. He moved on from these small colleges and all these smaller games to actually become an official for the Big 12 conference. Now he switched. He used to be a back judge when he was officiating at these small college games. A back judge, usually you'll see the B or BJ on their uniforms. They stand behind the defensive secondary in the middle of the field. They're the ones who judge the action of the running backs, the receivers, but primarily they deal with the tight ends and the nearby defenders. So he spent time as a back judge. In the Big 12 conference, he switched from back judge to field judge. The field judge, he's the one that makes the decisions near the sideline of his or her side of the field, judging the action of the nearby running backs, the receivers, the defenders. They rule on pass interference, illegal blocks downfield, incomplete passes, and they're also responsible for counting the defensive players. So they're the ones who say, when you hear too many men on the field, that's usually the field judge making that call. So again, he moved from back judge to field judge when he shifted to the Big 12 conference. He also called a bunch of NFL Europe games. This is back in the 1990s when the NFL did try, right, to launch an NFL conference or league, in Europe, right? So I think people forget about in the 90s that they really did try and they did establish some teams there. And so that is where he judged some of those NFL European games. Still not in the NFL per se, or at least in the U.S., because in 96, he did apply to become an NFL official, and that's kind of where they got him his start. They sent him to Europe to officiate some of those games. Then in 2002, he officially became an NFL side judge in the U.S. What is a side judge? They work downfield behind the defensive secondary on the same sideline as the head linesman or down judge. Like the field judge, the side judge makes decisions near the sideline on the near side of the field, judging the action of nearby running backs, receivers, and defenders. One of the reasons I like covering officials and referees is because I don't think people are familiar with all the different roles that they have. As I mentioned a few episodes ago, there's only one referee in the whole game. It's kind of like the lead umpire, in baseball, we follow that, and then the rest are officials. And each one does have their specific area that they're focusing on, right? And so he's, that's where he spent a lot of his time. In 2011, he was selected for the Super Bowl because his performance during that season was so good. In all the games he called that season of Super Bowl 45, he only made 2 mistakes, which is like, whoa, okay, because so many of us we do rag on officials, right? And referees all the time on bad calls. Are you blind? Well, in 2011 for Super Bowl 45, which people recognize as Steelers versus Packers, right? He only made 2 mistakes that whole season. And so they were like, all right, we're going to have you officiate during the Super Bowl. In May of 2023, Weatherford officially retired after a 21-season career. He spent most of that time as a field judge and a side judge. He wore the number 116 his entire career. His last on-field assignment was in 2020 wildcard round. In his career, Weatherford worked a total of 11 playoff games, 9 wildcard games, 1 divisional game, and of course the Super Bowl. He also worked 2 Pro Bowls and was a playoff alternate 4 times. Outside of the NFL, Weatherford is an executive at a big oil and gas business. They don't really name it, but I'm assuming it's because they don't want people hounding this guy. But the internet's out there, so if you want to know, you can find that out. As an FYI, officials and referees do have other jobs outside of the NFL. It's seen as a part-time gig. And so it's not surprising that Weatherford, outside of, he was a official, had an actual full-time job. And so that job is an executive. And so anyway, that is Mike Weatherford, the first Native American official. And so I hope you learned something cool today. And I hope you come back and see me again next week for a new episode of Diversity with Delilah. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.